working for you. A weekly talk radio program which highlights developments of national interest and the activities of your St. Kitts Nevis government. Join host Roy Williams as he presents news, views, reports, and interviews about everything regarding the activities of the Team Unity government and the building of our communities and the development of St. Kitts Nevis. Tune in and call in to interact with your government and share your views regarding the upward forward development of your community and our beautiful Twin Island Federation. Working for you is weekly, every Wednesday live from 1:30 p.m. to 3 p.m. on ZIZ Radio, Win FM, and Sugar City FM with rebroadcast on participating stations. Working for you.
Good afternoon and welcome to Working for You. Thank you very much for tuning in to today's program. I am Roy Williams. Those of you who have tuned in on Win FM, Sugar City FM, and of course ZIZ, wherever you are in the world, your company is appreciated very much. Today we are going to be having a discussion basically on nursing. Nursing is an extremely important profession. And today we'll be particularly talking about how we can get more male nurses. Of course, there has been a lot of stereotyping and discrimination against male nurses. We'll hear more of that. And so this program, we are going to look at how we can eradicate stereotypes and boost gender diversity and engage more male applicants in the nursing profession. I have a panel of three nurses. The Retired Energetic Nurses Touching All Lives, or RENTAL, as it is called. That's the acronym. Retired Energetic Nurses Touching All Lives. I have with me Miss Mary Liebert, who is the president of RENTAL. Welcome to this program.
Good afternoon, sir.
I have Miss Sylvia Manning, who is the public relations officer of RENTAL. Miss Manning, welcome.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
And I have Miss Dolores Gums, who is the founder, the past president and secretary of RENTAL. Welcome to this program.
Good afternoon to all and welcome. I thank you.
Somebody might ask, what are we renting? It sounds like a rental company.
Yes, and we did have a lot of that when we started. People from overseas were asking if we could rent a nurse.
Right, but it's just the acronym, which is RENTAL, Retired Energetic Nurses Touching All Lives. Now, I will begin with you, Ms. Gums, because you're the founder of RENTAL. And perhaps you can tell us or give us a brief background of RENTAL, a brief history, its mission statement, and so on.
Okay. RENTAL, the idea came up because looking around, we see that nurses are disappearing. At one time, we were all female nurses. We were only nursing, police, and military. Today, nurses have so many options. There are lots of places that you could go to work without being a nurse. But when I looked at what is happening in our communities, and I see that we as the senior nurses or retired nurses, we need to be mentors for our young nurses because they are not in the same like we were. We were disciplined. We were very into nursing. For us, it was a call. Sometimes today we think it's just a job. And so we need to be able to continue this process of ethical standards for nurses and be their mentors so that they could move in the right direction.
So that was the rationale for really starting the...
And as a recruitment drive.
Okay. It's funny that you would say, those things that you're speaking about, most of them relate to the qualities or the desired qualities that one should find in the nursing profession.
Right.
And on top of that, one can say, well, today we have, more technology.
That's right.
One can say that we have more advancement in medicine and so on. But those fundamentals that you spoke about in terms of the qualities that, people in the nursing profession should really possess.
That's right, because when we are thinking about caring for the sick, we need to be compassionate and we need to be able to really feel what they feel and care for them in the way that we would want to be cared for.
So you're talking about empathy.
Yes.
And you said also that sometimes people are doing it simply for a paycheck.
Yes.
It's just a job.
Yes.
It's not really
In today's world, yes.
It's not really a calling. There's a difference between a calling,
yes.
Somebody called to do something and really dedicated to it, and somebody just doing something because at the end of the day they're getting a paycheck and that is all. There's no passion.
Right.
There's no real dedication and so on. It's a huge difference. Now, when was the association formed? How old is it?
We started in March of 2012. We were like 12 persons, and there were Mary Lee Richardson, Sylvia Isaac, Victoria Phillips, Merle Hodge, Hyacinth Gums, Ruth Connor, Mrs. Pat Henry, Josephine Christmas, Maria Barker, and Rita Adams. Others came in later. Miss Manning and our present president came later on.
All nurses.
Yes.
Who came together for a common cause,
Right.
a common mission, if one has to say that. Now, all of you are nurses. I want you to share with the audience your experience. Now you're retired, but I want you to share with the experience something. Why did you choose the nursing profession? And what has been your experience? How long were you an active nurse? Starting with the president, Ms. Leiber.
Good afternoon again, listeners. Yes, I have been in nursing for over 40 years. I've worked at the JNF Hospital and in the community as well. When I was at school, I used to look at the nurses, how they go about themselves and so forth. And the motivation came from there, admiring them and feeling for people too as well, because I was with my grandmother and that sort of thing. So that's one of the things that drive me or motivated me to be a nurse. I have enjoyed nursing throughout the years, and I cared for people. I love caring for people because I feel them as they're my own family in that sort of way, especially the elderly. And I did it with love.
Good. Miss Manning, PRO.
My nursing began in the 1950s, and I felt that I needed to do something to help others because I worked in other areas before. So when I wrote my application and was called up, etc., I was able to thrust some of my experience, past experience, into nursing. And I found out that, as I was telling somebody the other day, when I first began to nurse, and that was at the Cunningham Hospital, we had a patient that was burnt, badly burnt. And when the sister of the ward gathered us around to do the dressing of that patient, I could not stand to see that raw flesh on the back leg. I fainted. And, they said, give her something and what next. But my reason for bringing that, years after, when we moved up to JNF Hospital, there was an explosion of a gas cylinder in Deer Bay, where about 6 people were burnt. One died, one was a thing, and they called me, the matron then. She said, Miss Manning, as I came on for day duty, she said, we have opened a burnt unit, and everybody feels you're the one to go there. This is about 6 years after. I said, me? She said, yes. You're the one, everybody's saying you're ideal for that. You're not going to say you take blood pressure when you did not, and you're not going to say you're going to, and we have given you some dedicated nurses. We told them, whatever you say to them, do. And I am telling you, that first morning when I went there, I held all the nurses' hands and we prayed. I said, not one of them must die. Not one of them. And it happened that none died. And they were there for weeks upon weeks. And I felt that was the result of my wanting to be a nurse. This, from one extreme to the next.
Right.
I then nursed for about 16 years. And then I was seconded to the nutrition unit because they wanted a nutrition officer. And I was given a scholarship to go away and train in Jamaica, and came back, and my thrust was in nutrition. But I also saw how nursing and nutrition can work because there is health for all. And so I was able to combine the two. And I've been there, was there for a long time until I retired. But then I realized I still have a little bit of nursing in me. And so I do everything I can, and with the retired nursing, I'm not as a founder, but I'm there to sort of push the fire, and that's why I'm here.
Okay. It's important, what you said in the beginning, that, seeing a burn victim and how in a certain sense, it shocked you. And a lot of people today would say, I don't go into the medical profession or the nursing profession because I really don't like to see blood. And I really can't see, people with cuts and all of that sort of a thing. And for them, that's what they say, it's a turn off. It's a turn off. But amazingly, what you said, it wasn't really a turn off. And then you end up having to work in the very same area that had shocked you in the first place. And underlying all of that, you said it was because of your care and your love for people.
That's right.
And you got used to it. Miss Gums.
My inspiration for coming into the nursing field was stemmed from my mom. In St. Peter's, Monkey Hill, where I'm from, they called her the village doctor because anybody got sick, they would come and call her, and I would be the little lady going with her. So after school, I was shipped out to England and did my nursing there. But my call is nursing. My whole life has been nursing.
Did you go to the Florence Nightingale School? Is that where you went? King's College at King's?
I did not go to King's College.
Okay.
No.
But you know of that
but
school?
I know of King's College. And that is in St. Thomas's.
Yes.
Yes, I know of it because I love the history of nursing, and so I have always followed nursing. Just last month, this statue for Mary C. Cole was put up.
Yes, in
I
Jamaica.
was there in London, in
London.
Square. Yes.
Also, there's a hall
Yes.
at Mona campus at the
That's
university,
right. Yes,
Mary
that's
C.
right.
Cole.
Right.
Yeah.
And there is a bust in the Paddington area in London of Mary C. Cole as well.
Right.
So I love to follow the history.
Right.
So, and my life, as I said, has been nursing. I've done nothing else but nursing and preaching.
Oh, good. So they're all the caring, caring professions. And what you have said, distinguishes you from some of the modern day nursing? You know, the years, the length of years in the nursing profession, and the care and the love that drove you
Yes.
to do your work. You know, sometimes people now get into nursing or get into teaching or so on, but not because it's something they want to be in. It is a transition. They're moving on to something else. So it's what I can do now is what I can get now. And so therefore I move on to something else. I'm not going to spend 20 years in this or 40 years, as in your case, Nurse Liebert. You know, I would move on to something else. I suppose that is a symptom of nuclear man.
Well,
And woman.
more than 40 years.
Mhm.
So, because it's my whole life.
Right, your whole life. You dedicate your whole life towards that. So the importance of the nursing profession. But as you correctly said, the profession is undergoing change, evolution. And one of them really has to do with stereotypes, gender diversity, and how it is one can attract more males in the profession. Of course, male nurses confront a lot of stereotypes and discrimination. Once ago, you basically had, or you would, when you would see a doctor, it would be a male doctor. But now you have a lot of female doctors. But strangely enough, you don't have the stereotype and discrimination for female doctors as you would have for male nurses. And you know, and when somebody sees a male nurse, let me just walk into the hospital and they see, a male nurse with a stethoscope. Let's, for example, they think it's a doctor because it's how we have been socialized in terms of gender roles. It is a matter of socialization. This is for a female and that is for a male and so on. And people experience discrimination, stereotype, and prejudice. All of us experience it at some point in our life, whether it is because of race or sex or nationality or sexual orientation or sometimes because of your job. You experience it. And from what I understand, that you have a conference that is coming up.
Yes.
And the theme of the conference is an interesting one. Male nurses, why not? President, an interesting theme.
We have planned this conference, a two-day conference taking place October the 24th to the 26th in support of male nurses. It is really that because nowadays we see there is shortage all over the world in nursing, and to motivate men or recruit men and motivate them in the field of nursing would be of some great help. That's what we thought. We are looking at persons in the region. We have targeted persons in the region to come to this conference. And the purpose is to recruit, train, and retain men in nursing. So today, we are here to advertise our conference and to have more public awareness and share information.
Right. Now, I think that part of the problem why more males do not go into nursing is one, it has been branded as a female profession. And two, males who go into nursing, people seem to think that they're gay. And that is also part of the issue. But even if they were, so what? But the issue has always been that of discrimination, stereotype, based on what we call work. And people putting those work into sort of a gender-based work and this sort of a thing.
But can I say here too, according to the American Nurses Association journal, male nurses used to serve from way back, as far as in the Civil War. Men and women served in that time. So men were in nursing for quite a long time. It's not new.
It's not anything new. So what has changed?
What I can say, not so much changes, but I remember while nursing, I got a scholarship to go to England and do a course in nursing, supervision, administration, etc. And there was where I first saw male nurses. And I really was impressed by them. And I realized, surely we can have male nurses. In my nursing here, I found out that we had male nurses. At least I knew of one while I was nursing. And he was like the ideal person for the female nurses. He was everything to them. And he felt himself welcomed, and they would never have anything without him. Whether he was on the ward or it was social time outside of nursing, he was always there. And I think one or two people got energized by that. But I think after I left nursing, they've had male nurses here too. But as I say, few and far between. So we are now thinking, let us get a drive going. Let us see if we can stimulate some of our people. In fact, some of the lecturers coming will be male nurses.
Yes.
And they will give their own experience. So I think our drive is to get some of ours going forward.
The challenge will be, of course, to eradicate the stereotype. That would be the challenge.
It is the challenge. Because this male nurse problem only happens in the region, in our Caribbean region. Working overseas in the States, in Canada, in England, we have loads of men nurses, male nurses. But it's our own Caribbean culture that prevents our men from getting into nursing. But right now there is a need. We have a need for male nurses. When you look at the violence that you see taking place in hospitals, and the nurses are all female, there is no fear that they could walk in and do whatever. But probably if there was one or two male nurses, it will prevent all that violence. Right? The other thing is with male nurses, they're so needed because, for example, in our period right now, it's disaster. In times of disaster, male nurses are the source that we need because they are the ones who's going to be able to go out and help somebody in the country who could lift something, who could do something. We will send the female nurses, but the male nurses are the strongest set, and they will be able to do more.
The irony really, nurses, is that they are no different to male doctors.
Exactly. Exactly.
They are no different to male doctors, but the problem arose because of the stereotype.
Yes.
And then you spoke about culture. Culture is one of the hardest things to change.
Yes.
And a Caribbean culture of a sort of what we can probably call machismo, and the alpha male, and all of that sort of a thing. And seeing a male nurse, as we mentioned before, in a particular kind of light, and seeing the woman as the one who provides care and that. And then we have songs too. Night nurse,
Right.
only alone can quench this your thirst.
Wow,
that sort of thing. And so the nurse is being portrayed as a female.
But that's what it says in the dictionary. It says that the nurse is a female, and that is where the problem began. The nurse don't have to be a female. The nurse,
In modern, the dictionary still states that.
yes, up to this morning I'm looking at it to make sure that I come here and see what's in the dictionary. But it's still saying it's a female. So
It's amazing that while you would have had the shift of women, being doctors, and so many women now being doctors, that still, you would have that sort of a definition in a dictionary
Right.
in this day and age.
Yeah.
I suppose after now the
But
dictionary will
there-
rewrite it.
There is,
And then the men has this question, so what you going to call me, nurse? No, we call you Mr. and Mr. Williams. That's
Right.
I'm not nurse Mr. Williams. I'm
So
I'm
can
Mr.
one say Nurse Williams?
sure,
Well, we would prefer not. We'd say Mr. Williams, the RN, or the whatever he is. The
Okay,
credentials.
President, Ms. Gums is raising a very important issue, that of titles. Because sometimes, because it has been a female-dominated profession, the titles themselves might need to change.
You're right.
Yes, the title of sister and matron and so forth. They will look into that to change that, because you'll have to put nurse managers now and maybe supervisors and the sort of thing. But I've heard they refer to the male nurse as brother, and it's accepted. Brother.
Right. So titles do quite a lot in terms of
Right.
defining people.
Right.
And so therefore the titles will have to change.
Yeah.
I've worked with loads of male nurses, but we just call them Mr. whoever they are. And that's it. Don't put nurse onto it. If you're writing the names, you say Mr. Williams, the RN, or the whatever the titles
And then
or the credentials are.
And then the other thing has to do with rank. Because there are some people, and it's all a part of the medical profession. However, some people see nurses of being of a lower rank to doctors.
Yes.
And that is not necessarily so.
No, because we have nurse practitioners,
Practitioners.
and we teach the doctors.
That is correct.
Yeah.
You have nurses, of course, who are PhDs and
Yes.
specialized nursing and so on. It's just that it's the field that they want to be in. And some people will tell you, I want to be a nurse, I don't want to be a doctor.
Yeah.
That has nothing to do with their IQ level or anything like that. It's just the profession that they want to be in. And perhaps for some people, seeing a male nurse will think, well, look, he ain't really finished his studies because he's a doctor, he really should have been.
But nurse,
You know, that kind of a way, so he's not finished. And you know, you go to the hospital and you might ask, he says, but when you're going back to finish your studies?
but nursing, in the sense, it doesn't really mean bedside only, because from in nursing you can be nurse anesthetist, you can be nurse practitioner, you can be in the pediatric ward, you can do ER
Special.
and psychiatric care. You know, it don't have to be bedside nursing, and there are other areas in the health field that men could find themselves apart from being at the bedside.
Right. So you can be a male nurse, but you can go into different areas.
Yes.
Different areas. Okay, so you're going to have this conference, male nurses, why not? The other issue, of course, that we're thinking about is gender balance, gender equality. And when we speak about gender equality, there's always an issue in our society as well in terms of remuneration for work. And we've had certain professions where if one is a female and one is a male, the pay is different.
Yeah.
And it really should not be.
That's right.
So I suppose that is something too that will have to be addressed.
Yes. It's one of our topics, gender equality. But I'm hoping that out of gender equality will come out gender inequality. Let us deal with the stigma and all the things that are against men, and not about paychecks and different things, because we really need to look at the inequality. Why aren't we getting them? Why are they not there for as nurses? Not about the paycheck.
And all that is working against society, culture progressing. You mentioned before that in other parts of the world, they don't have this stereotype and discrimination against male nurses. But somehow in the Caribbean, particularly in the Caribbean, that is a problem. And it is a problem indeed. And so therefore the challenge of eradicating those stereotypes and rooting out the discrimination is going to take some sort of work.
I think we need to start in the school. Allow the children to understand that nursing is not just for females. It's a profession that they too, especially when you get into nursing, it's really into nursing, and you find that you could be work in the ICU, the intensive care unit, where they need men very often, in the emergency room where they have all the critical cases coming in the mental health unit. Those are areas that men love to work, and so they could be prepared for that area.
Right.
But now you have men who wants to do midwifery, but some patients don't want a male nurse to deliver them, but they don't mind a male doctor to deliver them. It's a complicated matter.
Yes, because you have the gynecologist that is male.
Yes.
You have gynecologists who are male.
Yes, you have.
And there are female gynecologists.
Yes.
But when it comes to a midwife, yeah.
A nurse,
Well,
a
that
male
wife,
nurse and a
that
midwife.
we're talking about terminology, right? We were talking about that before. Well, that terminology also have to change. Can you imagine a male nurse being called a midwife?
That's why we need to call them by their names.
Yes.
Call them by their
So
names.
really the terminology, has lent itself to some. Let us put it, the terminology has lent itself and is partly to be blamed for some of the stereotypes,
right.
the razor type. Because let's look at it, language is powerful. And of course, we sort of grew up in a sort of a patriarchal society. And a lot of our societies have been patriarchal, male dominated. And what fueled this patriarchal society and thinking was language. Language. And language has to change. Nowadays we're hearing, more women are saying, look, we feel excluded when the pastor is going to say, good morning, my brothers.
Brethren.
And what happened to sisters?
But what happened to the sisters in the church? And somebody might say, well, brothers is the generic, or man is the generic, meaning everybody. But some people are taking an affront to that. And they're calling for inclusive language. If you're going to say brothers, say sisters. If you're going to say men, say women. Because language can offend. And in today's age, we have to be inclusive, and language is important to be inclusive. So some of those terms will have to change. What will you call a male who is into midwifery?
Mr. Williams.
So, you call
Whatever
him
his
sir.
name is, call him.
You'll call him sir.
Yeah, call him a sir.
You can't say a midwife, and you can't say, and basically you can't say mid-husband. You can't say mid-husband.
Mid-men.
Call him by his name. If he's Mr. Jones, he's Mr. Jones.
I knew one, and they referred to him as brother. He was a midwife. They just referred to him as brother, and it was all right.
Right. And then, Miss Gums, you spoke about the difference in terms of a woman wanting a male doctor or a female doctor to deliver
Right.
their baby. While when it comes to a male nurse, you wouldn't mind a female nurse, but a male nurse, there's a problem. What is the problem?
Problem is culture, our society. That's how we were brought up. There is no other reason, because the male nurse can do the delivery just as well as the physician. So it's just our society.
A lot has to do with our thinking, isn't it?
Yeah.
And shifting the way that we think. And sometimes the way that we think really shackles us from progressing and developing. Isn't that so?
Yeah.
So
I
it's
agree.
perception then.
I
It
agree
is
with Miss Gums.
perception. Perception.
That we have to get into the schools. That is foremost.
Go into the schools, and the schools are partly to be blamed in how they have socialized. Maybe things are changing today in terms of education, but the Ministry of Education is to be blamed for how men and women have been socialized. Today there's more knowledge, and there's a shift in terms of the socialization. But before, when I was in school, I know what used to happen. Woodwork was for the boys,
Right?
and technical drawing was for the boys. And it was the girls who went and did food and nutrition
That's right.
and clothing and textiles, and
Yes.
the girls went and the girls used to do typing and so on.
That is true.
The education system was set up that it was set up along gender lines, that these are for girls and these are for boys.
Even
It's
in the home.
only now that you're seeing males maybe doing food and nutrition or clothing and textiles and so on. And then you realize, look, doing clothing and textiles, I can become a tailor. Or I can become a chef. Food and nutrition is important.
right.
But now also you see girls who are doing technical drawing
That's right.
and girls who are doing woodwork. But it wasn't always like that, and it was not always encouraged. When I taught at the college, I had one or two girls who used to come to my class. Mind you, they never used to want to wear dresses and so on. They always want to wear their pants and have their boxers, and I used to tell them, not inside here. But at the very same time, they were doing mechanical engineering and auto mechanic.
Some of them needed to-
But they were not going to go with any different standard to the boys, and I never treated them, one
Yeah.
over the other. They were all treated the same. So if the boys cannot come in the class with sagging, you can't come in the class sagging either. And that is how it is.
And it even started in the homes, because our parents differentiated the way they treat boys versus girls. Girls have to do all the housework and everything else, and the boys could get
Whatever.
away with everything else.
Yeah, and so therefore the girls would play with their dollies. You buy the doll for the girl, and you buy a gun.
For the
For the
boy.
boy.
You buy a gun for the boy, and the boy is going around with a gun. Maybe it's a water gun sometimes, or sometimes it's not the water gun. You make a lot of noise and you pull the trigger. These things are socialization.
Right.
Who are the most gun-slinging people in our society?
Men.
Our males. They are slinging gun. And of course, the woman being seen as the one, or she looks after the baby. And so therefore, get the babies. Get the babies. Because you need a dolly, or something to look after, so get the babies, you know. It's a fact.
But I think in the 21st century, things will change and are changing. It has
Things are
started
changing.
It has started to change, so we can look forward for the future. More involvement of men in nursing and participating in health field.
Yes. Okay. So that's one factor. One of the factors that we spoke about that is influencing the career choice of Caribbean male students from going into nursing is that of culture. You mentioned it, Nurse Gums. That is a big factor. What about in terms of the pay?
In terms of the pay, when it comes to where I've worked, like in the Virgin Islands in England, there was no difference. If you were an RN, you had an RN pay.
Mm-hmm.
It was just across the board.
Right.
So there was no difference. But if you worked in a critical area, like the emergency room, the mental health unit, the intensive care unit, those you had an increment if you were there, which is where the men usually were. So they would get a little different from us as nurses.
Okay. Now tell us a little bit more about the conference. Who would be some of the protagonists in this conference, the people who would be involved in the conference, the speakers, and so on, and how are you going to go about getting the participants for this conference?
Because of my...
How will you reach your target audience? Males.
We have sent out information on the website and so forth, and are expecting participants from the region. Here we will include high school students and college students from the college as well to attend the conference here. We are hoping to get a positive response, because the information will be needed as well.
Right. Okay, so you're going to send invitation to schools?
We have
You've already done that.
We have already.
So we have been promised at least 5 students, 3 male, 2 females from each high school.
Okay, where will the...
And then from the region, because I've been president of the Caribbean Nurses, I've been able to contact the region, and so we're expecting some delegates from the region, Caribbean region.
Right, so who will be some of the guest speakers?
I have from Mr. You want to do it?
Go ahead. Go back up.
We have Mr. Steve Martin. He's a person that I've worked with and know what they can do, and I am bringing only the best. Steve Martin is at Johns Hopkins University, and he's coming. They have already purchased the tickets, so we know they're coming. And then we have Mr. Herman Ginty from Suriname, who is a CEO in nursing all his life and has his own little mental hospital now. He's coming. And we have Rafael Lopez. He's coming either from Holland or Aruba, somewhere between those 2 countries he's at. And he's going to be here. And we have another mayor. I'm just getting to the mayor. We have Kevin Allen. Now, Kevin Allen, for me, I'm very interested in Kevin Allen because Kevin, when I founded the student nurses, the regional student nurses body, he was our first president, and he's now with a master's degree, and he's young, and I think he could persuade young men.
Mm-hmm.
So
can I add
then
one
we
more?
have 2 locals, and then we have Mr. Anthony.
Antonio Pantoflet from
Pantoflet
St.
from
Martin,
St. Martin.
who is head of patient care at the St. Martin Medical Center. He's one of our speakers as well.
Okay.
And we have 2 females, are local.
2 females.
Local.
Right. And it's a 2-day conference.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
At least 2.5 days.
2.5
Yes.
days. And there will be a sort of a drive for people to sign up, maybe to
Registration.
registration.
Yes.
I know that at the Clarence Fitzroy Bryan College, the Division of Health Sciences, they train nurses there.
Yes.
But they train nurses, and I think you have the BSc.
Yes.
The BSc in nursing that is done through the Huey Mona School of Nursing. Right. So there is education, nursing education.
Right, and presently
And-
we have 4 boys
And there are 4 boys presently
in the class.
in that program. You teach in that program,
No,
do
I
you?
don't.
Okay.
But I'm very much aware of what happens in nursing.
Right. Good. So, and I think that program has been going
Very
well.
good. Yes.
I think what is important, Nurse Libert, is for people to know that they can climb the scale in nursing.
Yes.
Just as you can climb the scale in being a doctor. Just as you can climb the scale as being a lawyer. Sometimes people think, oh, I'm a nurse or I'm a doctor and that's it. What about specialization? What about going to do your master's in nursing? What about going to do your PhD in medicine? And so on.
Some of the
We need
names
more
that they
specialists.
call, some of the names they
We
call
don't have specialists here
Right.
too, because
Raphael
we have nurse and
Lopez.
Lisa.
masters,
Yeah, we have
have the Kevin
a lot
thing,
of
BSc.
specialty. I mean,
We have
one of
Steve
the
Martin.
problems that I found here with the specialty is that most of them who were anesthetists and special areas were not happy with their salaries. They felt they weren't getting the increment for the specials, for the advanced studies that they did.
Right. Now, that can be a deterrent.
Yes.
We spoke before about pay. If you don't feel as though you're being paid, you know, what your qualification deserves. Because there are nurses who are more qualified than doctors.
And they have more letters. But,
When it comes to their qualifications, they are more qualified in their areas, their PhDs, because you can have a nurse who is a PhD in a particular field, but you may have a doctor who is just a general practitioner. But then one might say, well, look, the doctor is to get more money than the nurse with the PhD. That is where sometimes the turn-off comes in.
that is,
You see what I'm saying?
yes, that is so.
Right.
And that's just an idea of who we have. No, I'm saying that's just an idea of what we're doing.
Yes. Now, one of the topics that you are going to have here, which will be done by Herman, is, are you men enough for nursing?
Yeah, and he's good. You all need to come.
Are you men enough for nursing? What do you think that means?
Well, you have to be strong in order to be a nurse. We go through a lot of things as females, and men don't really, they're not always able to go through what we go through.
But the image that is put out there is that men are strong.
Yes.
Let's face it. The image that has been put out there, maybe it is changing now, that men are strong and women are weak.
That might be so, but there's another image too. Men are strong physically
Ah,
for doing work,
Yeah.
but
Emotionally.
women are strong and can endure far more than a man. If a man's finger is sick, he's nearly crying. A woman has the same finger, but she's doing all the work, and she has forgotten that the finger is sick. If a man gets a headache, he doesn't want to work for the whole day, but the woman has to work all the time with the headache. So there's a difference in what they're strong in.
Okay, so that brings in another factor. The whole makeup of females and the makeup of males.
Mm-hmm.
Some people say that women deal better with emotions.
Yes.
That's right.
Women deal better with pain.
Oh, yes.
Women seem to be more sympathetic and show more and are more capable of showing empathy and care. Some of those,
Empathy and the
not necessarily. It's not necessary, but something that is how it has been portrayed. That women are the primary caregivers, and so on, and some of those qualities and so on. But let's face it, what is happening in terms of male nurses is happening in some other areas in our society. What are the factors why more men are abandoning our churches? You spoke about, pastoring. You think it's also a part of the culture?
I think
The macho culture, the culture that says,
yes, and sometimes it could be what is happening inside the church. And it could be sometimes the pastors themselves that don't want, that aren't guiding. They're not getting the real direction as to how to go, where to go, and what, So I would want to think that if in the home, it all starts in the home, your brother, my mother had all of us, she never sent us to church without her. And that is the key. Today, so many children are mothers and fathers that they don't have the time, they never matured enough to know what is good and how to direct their kids. And so they're tired on the Sunday morning because they've been out partying all night, and to this Sunday they don't go the next Sunday, and then it becomes a habit. It becomes a habit, they're just not there.
is it that church is seen for women? Church is for women. And the men who go to church, basically, they're seen as weak, sissy. They're not macho. They're not on the corner liming.
I think there's a difference in years gone by. It was like a family going to church, male and female, with their children. Nowadays, there's so many women with children, and some of the children are for one father. So how can he split with the various women? Sometimes I look at the march that they have for the children every June, the preschool children.
So many.
Thousands of women and a few men pushing the pram. Few men. But when you ask a question, he says, well, he can't come because 3 of them have children, so who can he go with in the march?
But it's not a joke. It's
It
funny
is not a joke.
because-
It's really not a joke.
This is a serious thing. For example, I headed up. One of my specialties is neonatology, and we had a case. 3 young ladies came in from the high school to have babies. They're all friends, and the father of the children is the same person. Is the very same person. So I said, I had them in a little conversation because I'm going to put a little word in there. And I said, why? How is it that you're best friends? Their answer. We just wanted to see who would get the prettiest one.
You've got to be kidding.
Serious. They just wanted the best friends, so they want to see who will get the prettiest child for the young man, and they're all in school. They're all in school.
And this actually happened. This is a real
This
life
is a real life story. This
Yeah.
is not a makeup now.
abroad.
This is a real true story. And this is how our young ladies are thinking. They don't, they don't think.
But there's a lot of work that we have to do in terms of gender balance, gender relations, and so on. We are speaking in the context of the nursing profession. But what you're seeing in the nursing profession in terms of more males not entering the nursing profession, you can also see it in some other professions, and you can also see it in some other institutions. I remember once ago when growing up, it was very, very, and that was not too long ago, it was, to see a female pastor was a rarity.
Oh, yes. I could tell you about that too.
You had more females going to church, but at the very same time, who would be leading the flock? It's the men. Nowadays, you are seeing a sort of a shift, because you are seeing now more female pastors, except in the Catholic Church. So, we are seeing shifts in terms of more women getting involved in what was once considered to be, male-dominated professions, positions, and so on. But it seems to me that this shift is not taking place as fast with the women getting involved in what used to be the male-dominated positions and the men getting involved in what was thought of as the female-dominated professions. For example, nursing. Do you get my point?
Yeah, sure. Sure.
So we are seeing a sort of, for example, you're now seeing women who are playing football and playing basketball and now playing cricket. Once ago, these were thought of as male-dominated sports. You are seeing women in them now.
But as time changes, we change with the times. So, as I was saying at the beginning, when in my days, we only had be a nurse, a police, a military, or a teacher. Now we have so many choices that you could choose and just do it.
There are many, many, many choices, but we are specifically focused right now on more males choosing the nursing profession.
That's right.
That's what we hope
I
to
am
get.
thinking with exposure and more education and so forth, it will be a shift. It will be a shift.
I
Possibly
can't,
from this conference too, with more positive attitude towards the nursing. We are expecting that outcome.
right. And so that is one of the objectives
Yes.
of having the conference.
Right.
So that there will be a shift. Okay, we are going to go to the phone lines and we are going to take some calls. I'm sure there are people who are eager to call in. The numbers to call, the local number, 465-2555, that's the local number. And the overseas number is 1718-577-2916. The local number is 465-2555, and the overseas number is 1718-577-2916. We welcome your calls. So when is the conference and where is it?
The venue is Ocean Terracing. That's the venue we have chosen. And it begins on the 24th of October, Thursday, which is a Thursday, and ends the 26th, which is a Saturday.
Okay. So we're also going to have at the conference the involvement, the Ministry of Health is involved.
Yes, we are. Yes, they are on board, and Ministry of Education as well.
The Ministry of Education and the Ministry of Health.
Yes, we have extended letters to tourism and other sectors, and we are asking the public to support us because we have sent letters to business places and so forth seeking their support, some monetary and otherwise.
Okay. So we will have the Honorable Senator Wendy Phipps, who is the Minister of State with responsibility for health.
Yes.
She will be one of the...
We hope, because we have no definite answers on anybody there.
Oh, I see. Okay. Okay. So it is expected that the Ministry of Health and the Ministry of Education, that they would be involved.
The Ministry of Education, we are sure about.
You're sure about the Minister of Education?
Yeah.
Okay. Right. Now, is nursing more than giving care? Let me ask that question. Is nursing more than giving care?
You want to take it?
Sure enough, as one looks on, a nurse in itself can say reward more than just giving care. You find yourself nursing the patient, but when you have gone home, it's like the patient is still with you. And two, the relatives are with you. They're hoping that they're thing. So you go beyond that care. But when a patient has recovered, you realize the gratitude of you. They thank you for being there. Their relatives thank you. And you in yourself feel satisfied that you've done something more than you. So it's more than care. It's like the Heavenly Father working within you to help them. And then in return, they're thankful.
Okay. So it is a sort of, it's not just you're giving care, but the rewards that you receive as
That's
well
right.
in the delivery of your work.
Service.
So it is fulfilling. You yourself in turn are fulfilled.
That's right. I do not know if they are.
A nurse too can look like as a counselor as well, a teacher as well, and sometimes someone to help with even budgeting and thought things because they give advice and they share certain information with you, because I could remember as we work in the community, and to me community was more challenging because you had to be on the ball because these are persons who are not sick, so they challenge you, so you had to know what you're doing. But more so somebody who is sick at the bedside, they mostly wait on you, something for the care. But those who are not, they challenge you and ask questions, so you had to know what you're about to cope with them and inform them.
Okay, now in terms of the education, nursing education, do you think that men would face some significant challenges with nursing education? Or are there any challenges to be faced by men with nursing education? Ms. Gams?
No, I don't think so. In my experiences, they have not. The problem they face is the stigma and all the things that prevents them from getting into nursing. But once they're there, they're coming out of school with their subjects, and they do well. They do well in nursing.
The reason why I ask that question is that sometimes the curriculum can be basically geared more towards a particular gender, because we're speaking about gender-based professions and how stuff, things were seen. For example, terminology used in the education would have to change.
Yes,
Can you imagine being in the classroom and you're talking about midwifery and midwives, and you have males in that classroom, a man would face a challenge with having that sort of a terminology.
Yeah, but
I think they'll be eager to learn.
yeah, they are eager.
I
But
think they're
I
eager.
think the problem is now that we, as midwives, we just don't call it that. Just let them understand from the inception of their classes that we are going to be calling you Mr. whatever your name is, Mr. Jones, Mr. Jones, and let the class know you're going to be referring to Mr. Jones as Mr. Jones. You know, and we just take it from there.
Okay, the lines are open. You can call 465-2555, which is the local number. And the overseas number is 1718-577-2916. That is 1718-577-2916. We're having a discussion on nursing, the nursing profession, and basically how to attract more males in the nursing profession.
For future, nursing is a demand career. It's on demand, and men who will become RN, they can rest assured that they are joining a dynamic profession. Once they enter the field of nursing, they become RN. It's a dynamic profession.
No, RN is registered nurse.
Registered
but as a
nurse.
registered nurse, what does that mean?
You've passed what you are trained, whether it's for say it's 2 years, 3 years, or what. That's the time you feel proud that you've
Yes.
gone through that period. And then there are other categories of nursing that you can enter, as you have referred to,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And then there are sidelines. Because if he's very good, sometimes he's called upon to go and help somewhere else, to do, and that person will feel proud that they're called upon. And therefore they'll study more, and next thing you hear, they want to go off to learn something, and they come out, BSc, MSc, a doctor, whatever, and they're very proud. And they don't have to just stick to just nursing. But nursing is like a head start for them.
The RN really is the one who completes a course in all sectors in that curriculum
Yes.
and must have a license to practice where they can give medicine and everything that a senior, well, or as a professional nurse. They become a professional nurse as an RN.
Mm-hmm.
Now you could have your, as Sister Manning was saying, your masters, your bachelors, and after that BSN you can do your specialty. You could specialize in various fields and just continue your education by adding and adding to the basic. But your basic is so that you could be a professional licensed nurse.
Certainly. Working for you, good afternoon.
Yes, good afternoon. First of all, I would like to congratulate the nurses that you have there with you, because the nursing profession is a profession I have always admired. And in my school days, you either became a nurse or a secretary, or you didn't have much choice, really, because we didn't have the amount of professions offered now that we can do here in St. Kitts. And I'm glad to hear that they are trying to encourage men to become nurses.
I cut you off there.
No, actually, I was just saying that a registered, an RN is one who has completed the course outlined by the school and is now able to pass the boards and get a license to practice as a professional nurse.
Okay. Good. Now there are some levels that nursing go through. I think you refer to them as belts. You have the black belt and you have the red belt, and could you explain what that is all about? I never fully understand it.
Maybe
I think
nursing today has various levels. And what we find out, even those of us who are retired nurses, we have to also learn what is being done today, because you have nurses in blue uniform, maybe with blue cuffs, others with maybe a mauve or purple with more. Then there's those in their light blue and white with their white cuffs. And those in the first two categories, their levels are not as high as that one who has gone through that 3 years of training. They would have had some training, but not as much. And then you have those who are going through midwifery, and they are being trained. They will have their white cuffs. And then you have those who have the red belt. They would have finished their general training, but they have not gone on to the midwifery yet. And then you go on to those with the gray or blue belts who are like departmental sisters. They're at a higher level until you reach to the matron or something like that. But we do have nurses who are doctors. Like, for instance, there's one at the college right now.
Right.
She has her doctorate. And there's one as permanent secretary now. She has her master's.
Yes.
So you go on further and further. And the men will mount just as fast. Or the male nurses, they put their heads to it. And then in nursing today, they can go and do other little courses besides the regular nursing. So they have something else to do.
Working for you, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Mr. Williams.
Good afternoon, sir.
And good afternoon to the nurses, the hard-working nurses. I think now those nurses are in retirement right now.
Yes, they are on retirement.
Yes, because I know that that a lot of patients with patients in the hospital, and different people come in the hospital, especially when you're mentally ill. And nurses, they have a very, very hard time, and we got to give them praise and give them the credit. Now, when I was coming up as a coming up as a boy, yeah, I always hear about a male nurse, like a nurse going for male. But I always used to think different. I remember time and all when I was something I went to, and a male nurse just us in the forum, and I was thinking funny. You understand that he's a male, that means he on the guest side. You understand? I was thinking that, but now I advance in age now and going down and getting more experience and go to the hospital and get sent to ID with these men who was his nurse, and the teacher just like over the like a doctor cheat you, or like any nurse cheat you. So that was my thinking for them time, because I always thinking that why man do not go in for nurse. You understand? But I always think was it more a female sex and a male sex. Anyway, wonderful program. God bless.
Okay, thank you. He was basically commending the male nurses that he would have come across, and that he has not received any sort of a different treatment,
Yeah, usually the male nurses get a lot of credit for their care. They are much more passionate, and they really go out of their way to see that their patients are comfortable, and not only with the caring, but it become a holistic thing to them, where they said a little prayer with them. They say they listen, and they build a lot of trust with their patient, And that is one of the things, the trust with the patients.
You were speaking about the different categories of nursing that one can get involved in.
Yes.
Yeah.
You, not particularly the belts, right? The categories. Of
The categories. We were speaking about the belts also.
Yes.
So, but as an RN, you can choose to specialize in everything, because today's nursing is broken down. It's broken down so that you can specialize in one particular part and work as a nurse and still, even without an RN. In my own case, I'm an RN. I specialized in infectious diseases. I specialize in neonatology, and I specialize in orthopedics. So you could do anything that you want to, and that becomes a part of your education. It's open more today because you could go higher now. In my time, you didn't have all those things, but now you have the nurse anesthetist. That wasn't there in my time. You have the nurse anesthetist, you have the nurse. I was just talking yesterday with one of my students from St. Croix, who is now a nurse practitioner and neurosurgeon. So all those things are now coming. Every year it seems to be a different one coming that you can expand your education in nursing.
So your different areas that one specialize,
Yes.
Specialization in nursing.
Right.
Is there anything else that you would like to say in terms of the conference, Nurse Library?
Yes. So far, I am thinking that with that conference in mind, at the end of it, we should see some good results, and then the information, especially from maybe our community, and also coming from the region, they will go back maybe to their country and share the information so that there will start to be a change in the culture. So that's what we are looking forward to, so that men will be more open and positive towards nursing. I can share 5 reasons, or some reasons why it's a great career. You know, that's how it.
Yes, go right ahead.
The male patients will appreciate them, you know, because they have a sort of bond and they will feel more acceptable. And men have always been in nursing, so that's a part of encouraging. They're not there alone, and they will shatter the stereotype. If we get more men, it will shatter the stereotype, so it wouldn't be so stereotyped now. In the future, I must say that. And still, nursing isn't settling. Nursing is striving. It will be a progression.
Okay. Good.
So,
Miss Guns, Nurse Guns.
in reference to the conference, I would like to encourage our own nurses to come to the conference, and so that our community would know a little more about male nurses and to share, because the conference has a cost, and for our nurses, they feel that it's a little high, but we have to pay the hotel, and we don't have the money to do that. So we would like to ask for sponsorship for nurses, that if you love a nurse, just sponsor a nurse to come for the conference and let them be able to take something that they could share with another nurse.
Working for you, good afternoon.
Yes, man. Good afternoon, Lesroy and nurses. I could hear you clear. You could hear me clear?
Yes.
Right, okay. Nurses, I have a commendation for you all and one little simple question, but I'll give you all the commendation first. Nurses, you all are some great workers, and it took kind of patient in the hospital. The physical patient And you, the nurses, have a lot of patience now to go with us. And I want to thank all nurses in the world, because it's not easy being a nurse. Imagine a nurse, whether a man or woman nurse, got to lift up a patient 275 pounds, and then sometimes the patient could help themselves and they don't help them. And the nurses got to be careful that they do not injure themselves in lifting that kind of weight. So I congratulate you all for the patience you all have with the sick patient. And I am recommending that all nurses get a reasonable, satisfactory salary. Do not watch the little thing and look it and call it simple work. It is hard work. And if the nurses could get more money, please give them more money. Now, my question is this now. The nurses' dress code is a frock and the other things, and a cap. How come a male nurse don't wear the cap? That is the question. I listen out to hear. Thank you.
That's another.
Deterrent.
That can be a deterrent as well.
But that is being phasing out slowly. In some countries, they don't wear caps at all.
They don't wear cap.
But he's referring simply to the men.
To the men.
Right, the
Where he says, how come the men don't wear caps?
Because
And the men wouldn't wear caps
the
at
men
all.
would not wear caps. We would never think of putting the cap on a man. Because first thing, you don't have no hair to put it on, to pin it on.
You spoke about the males being involved in nursing education at the college.
Right.
We are going to have sometime next week, because we received an invitation, a capping
Yes.
and striping
Ceremony.
ceremony. Now suppose that you had males in that batch. What would have
You stripe them or pin them.
You stripe them or pin them.
Yes.
The capping is
the capping is not for the men.
okay.
But you can know things have changed today too. Because once ago, all nurses had a certain amount of hair on their heads. And therefore, the cap looked all right. Nowadays, a female nurse, she doesn't have to have her hair.
Properly trimmed or braided.
So sometimes I wonder how the cap fits on,
And sometimes they have too much hair.
you know. So things are changing around.
So these are some of the changes in fashion.
Yes.
Nurses and so on can,
Yes, and they wear pants now. In my days here, they didn't wear pants at all. It was all dress.
So there are some changes
Yes.
happening.
Change.
And ethics is maybe modifying a bit to suit maybe now, because your hair shouldn't pass in deep your neck.
Right.
And you see long hair now. So.
Okay. Now we are basically out of time.
Now, let me say something about
Sure.
rental.
Before we leave, I will give you some time to wrap up.
I want to mention that rental, which is the retired nurses, what we do, we go to companies and schools, we do screenings, we give scholarship. We have produced 2 books, Pillars of Nursing and The Beginning of Caribbean Nurses. So we are always looking at ideas and moving ahead with our mentorship program to nurses as well. So we just want you to know that we're not just sitting here. We're here. You can call us anytime in the community to do some screening for your firm or your companies.
Sure.
Yes.
Ma'am.
I'm happy that we're here to advertise. Why not males? And we want to say, surely, we want the males. We have found that they have found satisfaction in doing it. And in general, nursing needs the male. In all aspects of nursing, we need the male. So we're looking forward to see not only at the conference, but that it will spread throughout our federation and beyond, that there should be more male nurses than what we have today.
Nurse Liebert.
Well, I am happy to be here, and I was very happy to take part in this discussion today. Lots of information was shared, and I hope that it will be beneficial to the general public, and from that we will see some good results.
Okay, I want to thank all three of you, Nurse Liebert, Nurse Manning, and Nurse Gums. Although you are retired, you are a nurse at heart. It has been your life, it has been your work, it has been your passion, it has been your love. And I am pleased to know that even though that you are retired, you are still out there doing work, encouraging people to join the nursing profession, not just females, but as we spoke about today, encouraging males to get involved in the profession. And I wish you all the best for your conference that is coming up under the theme, Male Nurses, Why Not? Thank you again for coming on this program.
Thank you for having us.
You have been listening to another edition of Working For You. Next week we will be back with Working For You. I want to thank all of our callers to today's program, all of you who tuned in and listened. An important topic for those men out there who are contemplating being involved in the medical profession. Why not consider being a nurse? I am your host, Les Roy Williams. See you next week.
Working for you. A weekly talk radio program which highlights developments of national interest and the activities of your St. Kitts Nevis government. Join host Les Roy Williams as he presents news, views, reports, and interviews about everything regarding the activities of the Team Unity government and the building of our communities and the development of St. Kitts Nevis. Tune in and call in to interact with your government and share your views regarding the upward forward development of your community and our beautiful Twin Island Federation. Working For You is weekly, every Wednesday live from 1:30 p.m. to 3 p.m. on ZIZ Radio, Win FM, and Sugar City FM with rebroadcast on participating stations. Working For You.